Here's 7 things that I did to improve my sleep that you can also do as well. Number 1, I stopped trying to force sleep to happen. So I thought if I did all the sleep hacks perfectly and I nailed my bedroom temperature and all that right, that I could essentially force myself to sleep. But I realized that sleep is a function of time, how long you've been awake, that determines how easy it is for you to fall asleep. So I stopped trying to force it to happen and I started to focus on how do I facilitate my body's own sleep processes to take care of the work for me. Second, I stopped chasing sleep hacks and I learned how sleep actually works. So I used to be obsessed with every blue light blocking glasses there was. I put electrical tape on all the LEDs in my room. I was deathly afraid of blue light. I was obsessed with the temperature and the sound, and I used to even measure the decibels of the sound in my room with an app. I realized that none of that stuff makes a difference. And what makes the biggest difference, and the only difference, is your sleep drive, which is a function of how long you've been awake. And the second thing is this thing called hyperarousal, which is the stress and anxiety that you have going on in your mind. And chasing sleep hacks increases that hyperarousal. So stop doing all that. Third, I built my schedule around the time that I wake up rather than the time that I go to bed. So I realized that the time you wake up determines the time that you're going to feel sleepy again at the end of the day. So instead of being obsessed with going to bed at a certain time, I focused on waking up at the same time every day. Because if you try to go to bed too early, you end up laying there awake. And it's very hard to fall asleep because you actually have to be awake for about 17 hours before you even feel sleepy in the first place. And the only way to make sure you've been awake that long is to lock in your wake up time. So that's what I started doing. Fourth, I stopped treating every bad night like an emergency. So if I ever slept poorly, I would feel like the next day was shot, that I had no chance of having any energy whatsoever. And I realized that that is ridiculous. Even if you sleep like crap, you can still have a great day the next day. You don't have to worry about it. Fifth is I learned the difference between feeling tired and sleepy. Being tired is like a physical sensation. You can feel tired after a workout, after a long day at work, but feeling sleepy is something totally different. That's when you have been awake for, like I said, at least 17 hours or more. And this is when your eyelids start to feel heavy. This is when your head starts to nod forward. And this is when you start to enter the first stages of sleep. Sixth is I stopped fighting my racing thoughts. So I would always be lying in bed having these thoughts going on in my head, and I'd be trying to fight them and try to get them to stop and think about different things. I learned that that is counterproductive, and the best way to do it is to just distract yourself by doing things that you enjoy, like reading a book if you like reading, watching, listening to music, anything that will actually distract you from your thoughts instead of trying to fight them. And then seventh, I learned to trust my body's natural sleep drive instead of trying to control it. Because when you try to control, this is when that hyperarousal kicks in. This is when you start to self-monitor and see if it's working, and it makes it very difficult to sleep. So I started to trust my body's natural sleep drive, which, like I said, needs about 17 hours to kick in. And once it's kicked in, you start to feel sleepy. And as long as you don't have that hyperarousal going on in your mind, sleep is very easy to achieve.